I'm moving forward every day, Jesus. I just let him lead the way every second, every minute, every hour of the day. I'm moving with Jesus every day. 24/7 with Jesus every day. 24/7.
It's one thing not to know. It's another thing not to know that you don't know. But it's even more tragic to not know that you don't know and think that you know. Some people go and they drink from the fountain of knowledge. Others go and gargle and spit it out. It's no fault of their fountain. It's just that they wish not to ingest what they have just placed in their mouth. Today we are talking about education, but education with a twist, education with inspiration. And we have asked a gentleman from an inspirational institution in the person of Mr. Leslie Hislop, principal of Caribbean Union College.
That's right.
Secondary School.
That's right.
All right, I got it right. Thank you for taking the time to be with us on JC 24/7, Mr. Hislop. I have known you for a long time.
That's right, Pastor. It's a pleasure.
When I was in Tobago, and you've always been a student of Christian education, but
right.
more than just being a student, you have been a person I've admired. By the way, Mr. Hislop, if you don't know, he's a singer as well, and he was part of a group there, and I've seen how you have grown in leaps and bounds, and now you are sitting in the chair of a principal. Lord have mercy. What about Christian education? Indeed. What about Christian education? Because we are talking specifically about education with inspiration.
Sure.
What about Christian education that has endeared you to even become a principal?
But let me even before talking about becoming a principal, let me just say that I thank God for the vision of my parents to ensure that I had a Christian education, because I'll tell you, man,
And you're from Tobago, right?
Yes.
Proud.
From Mason Hall, Tobago.
Mason Hall, Tobago. All right, there you
go. I just have to say that if it were not for that choice, I do not know where I would have been today. I'll be honest about that, because I mean, my mom always told me that even before I was born, I was the one giving trouble. I gave her the most. I gave her the most trouble during delivery, and you know, as a child growing up, I was always the one to test the waters. You know,
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, you know, so that Yeah, I think that ensuring that I had a Christian education was critical. Not just to ensure that I developed well academically, but also in terms of keeping me focused spiritually. It really did help, you know, because when the same thing that is said at home is reinforced in school, you know, I mean, it really helps to shape you into the person that.
And your mother is a former principal herself.
That's right. My mother is a former principal herself.
The North Regional.
But interesting enough, she's a former principal, but she's actually now back into education, doing her own little private thing, you know. So it's an upload. It's an upload.
She has retired to refire.
That's right. My dad, when he was alive, was a teacher as well for a number.
Did they have any vision that you will become a principal at any time?
But interestingly enough,
the
I told them straight up, that is the one thing I would not do. I would never become a teacher. I told them that straight up. When I looked at what they would do, I said, I will do anything else. I will never be a teacher.
So what happened? The Lord came down.
But that's probably a good way. To look at it. But you know, interestingly enough, I had actually applied to do medical technology, and for various reasons that didn't work out. A lot of it to do with the events of July 1990, because it was during that time that I had actually sent through the application, and with all the turmoil in the country at the time, somewhere something got lost in the mail, and by the time the school contacted me to inform that they didn't receive the package, I changed my mind and said, well, I'll probably just pursue something else in the meantime. And because of that, I actually went back to school, did my E-levels. When I was finished doing my E-levels, I got a call. There was a vacancy at the primary school, the SDA primary school in Charlottesville, and they just wanted me to fill that vacancy for a while. And when I took that offer, you know,
And that was
at
to
that
teach?
point, yeah, to teach.
So at that time, you still weren't battling over.
At that point, I still was sure I wouldn't be a teacher. You know.
So it was a setup.
Yeah, it was. You know, but when I entered the classroom and started to engage these young minds, I mean, we are talking children from standards 2 to 5. And beyond just the experience in the classroom, but also, you know, engaging in activities with them after school. Because, I mean, Charlottesville is a fishing village, so we and the guys went fishing a couple of times. We had a little school garden. We planted stuff. We stayed back after school and cooked some of the stuff from right in the garden there. So engaging in those experiences with them, I was like,
Wow.
this looks like something I could do.
Wow.
You know, and I mean, I remember one thing in particular that really impacted me, and I think that may probably have been the point at which I decided, here's what, this may probably be what I'm called to do. There was a young man in the class, in one of the classes, who in the reading exercise that we were doing, he would always ask to read last, to be the last to read. At first, I didn't pay much mind, but then after I started paying closer attention to what he was doing, and I realized, I said, but he's not reading. Because when I looked at where he was looking in the book and the words he was saying, I said, but he's not reading. So I realized what he was doing is he would ask to go last because he would listen while the other children were reading and actually memorize the reading passage.
Wow.
You know?
Awesome.
So I said, but, and this is a standard 3 class, I said, but how come nobody picked up on the fact that this guy in standard 3 could not read yet? So I took the class, we just started walking through the village, and, you know, I would point out words on signs that should be familiar words, and use that as an experience to actually get him to start identifying words. And I was able to see that young man actually get to the point where he actually started reading. And I think that experience in particular made me realize that, you know, yeah, this is probably what I want to do. And
conversion.
Suffice it to say, yeah, since then there's been no turning back.
Wow. So you moved from Charlottesville to where?
From Charlottesville, I worked at Harmon.
Right.
At Harmon High School. I taught math there for a couple of years. Then I came down to CUC then, CUC to study, and taught at Bates.
Which is USC.
Which is now USC. Taught at Bates for a while as the secondary school, the Adventist secondary school in Sangre Grande.
Okay.
Then I did a little private stint with my brother-in-law. He has a school in Grande there as well, Sangre Grande Educational Institute. Did a stint with him for a few years. Then came back into the system when I came back to CUC Secondary as vice principal. I'd actually taught at CUC for a year part-time just after they had merged Andrews and CUC.
Okay.
So
right. So you were here a long time.
yeah, I came back to CUC as vice principal in 2002, and basically I've been there since.
Just to be sure, is it that you have never been to any other school besides a Christian education school?
Actually, I did attend a government school for 2 years. I did my A-levels at Signal Hill Senior Campus. That was a whole eye-opening experience.
What has
was a whole eye-opening experience.
Share with us some of the experiences, not all of it.
But let me just put it like this. I believe that there are some areas in schools, particularly very large schools, that should be inaccessible after school is dismissed.
All right.
I'll put it like that. Inaccessible to students.
Right.
Because, I mean, the things that I was exposed to there, I was like, okay, that. You know, but
okay. From the platform from which you sit, at present, what are some of the challenges that all schools, whether they are under the umbrella of private schools or public schools, what are some of the challenges that all schools are faced with?
Well, in the context of education,
Right.
the challenges to all schools are the same, you know. Students who are unwilling to learn, staff who, you have some staff who really not committed to education. They are using the teaching profession as a stepping stone to what they really want to do. You know, or they probably couldn't get anything else, so teaching was available, so I'll try my hand at that.
Right.
Of course, limited resources. All schools suffer from that, regardless of how much money you have. There's always you always have limited resources. But more so now, in the context of our changing dynamic now, there's the constant competition with the social platform that students are using to educate themselves in all kinds of things that really negatively impact on their lives, you know. And in a large extent, one of the things that poses a challenge at some of the schools too is the lack of familial and parental support to students in school. Because what we've discovered over the years is that, you know, once the family, in particular parents, support children, the children will do well.
Right.
The children will do well. So those are some of the things that are common regardless of what.
There are some schools of thought who think even the educational system is not sufficient to facilitate the quality of learning that a child requires, to the extent that people believe they have to take supplementary lessons or supplementary classes. Like that. How do you view that?
Well, I'll tell you what. There may be some students who need supplemental work, but for the most part, the average student, if they go to school, go to their classes, give full attention in their classes, do their assignments as required by the teachers, for the most part, all those students will do well. Basically, we've as a society, we've bought into certain kinds of concepts, and I think one of the things that really has taken off, and I think it's a product of the socialist culture that, you know, the capitalist culture, where we feel that money dictates everything, you know, so that we've gone to the point where people feel that they have to, you know, we have to get this and we have to get that, and because the education system itself sets up a kind of competition against each other in terms of you know, what school my child goes to, and how they perform as compared to the neighbor's child and so on. We've created a culture where people feel that in order to be the best, the top, I need to do this and I need to do that. So the lessons culture buys into that, because in a lot of instances, when you examine what happens in the context of what we call lessons, really and truly it's just about making more money. But there are children who need additional support, and what should really happen for children who need additional support is that what is the way the lesson is structured and the way the lesson is delivered is done in a different way from what happens in the classroom context. But when you examine what happens in most of the lessons programs, it's basically the same thing that takes place in the context of the classroom. And in some instances, in most instances, even with larger volumes of students. So if the student is having challenges in a class where there's 25, 30, even 40 children, but you take that same student now and put them in the same kind of teaching atmosphere in a class with 90, 100, 120 students. I mean, if you're having a challenge in a class that is smaller and you're going to do the same thing in a bigger context, I mean, really, you know.
So I guess as a principal, you seek to put parents' heart at rest, because I suppose the parents feel a bit agitated and they get nervous and anxious, thinking that the child needs extra. But I suppose from what
I would ask the parents in the first instance, is the child really doing the work that they should be doing in class?
Beautiful.
And in a lot of instances, what you would find happening is that, I mean, like for example, in school bells, we have teachers who offer extra work for the students, extra lessons and so on. Most of them actually do it at no cost, you know. Of course, you have some of them who will, and I do have a challenge with it. They will charge, because the thing is, if a child is doing work, but they need some additional support, that's perfectly fine.
Right.
But to not do what you're required to do in class and then come to use the lessons environment to learn. I mean, apply yourself. If you apply yourself at the point where you could be utilizing that time for other personal enrichment programs like music and sports and those kinds of things to help enrich and develop the whole person.
So I suppose you believe every child has the capacity to succeed.
Of course, every child has the capacity to succeed. I don't subscribe to anything else. I mean, the child is a sponge. And a lot of times what happens is that as adults, we stifle the desire of children to learn when we, in some instances, dictate the way they should learn.
Beautiful.
Or even in some instances, like, for example, in the regular classroom setting, when you have a number of children in front of you and you have, you as a teacher, you're forcing yourself to finish the curriculum or to deliver the curriculum. There are students on the periphery who will always get left out. And the periphery on both sides. Gifted students who will never get the additional stuff that they could have gotten that would make them excel even more. And then the students who may have learning disabilities or different kind of sociological challenges that would or physiological challenges that may result in them not being able to assimilate the information in the context of the regular pace in a classroom. So if you have alternative approaches to how the curriculum is delivered for those students, then it would allow all of them to be able to, at their own pace, be able to achieve and succeed.
I'm here with Mr. Leslie Hislop, who thought he would never be a teacher. But guess what? He is a principal at that, teaching at the Caribbean Union College Secondary School. You have been a product of Christian education for most of your life, if not all of your life, Mr. Hislop. Right. You have bought into it, or you were sold into it. Now you have bought into it. Why?
Because I believe that Christian education offers what is a superior product. Okay. And I'll tell you why I believe it's a superior product. The human being is a whole being. Social, spiritual, physical, emotional, and so on. The Christian education platform treats to all of those aspects of the human. Because, you know, we talk now about the issues and the challenges facing our society. The social issues, the crime, and so on. Right. And we don't understand how much the education of a child impacts your morals, your values, the things that determine how you make decisions as an adult, as a person, the choices you make as a businessman. What would cause one businessman to figure that, let me try to see if I could outsmart the government and not pay the full amount of custom duties that I should pay if I undervalue or underestimate my products when I'm bringing them in? What would cause one businessman to do that while another one would declare the full value of the products and pay what is due? Those are the things that speak to the morals and values that you hold as core. So that when you, in your education, in your upbringing as a child, in the home, in the school, you are exposed to certain kinds of values and you hold on to those values. Those are things that dictate how you live your life. You know, so education is not just about the context of the classroom, but it's about preparation for life. And in the context of the Christian, in the context of spiritual people, we speak to life not just here, but life beyond here. So that our education speaks to preparation for life in this world, but also speaks to preparation for life in the world to come. And because of that, I feel those are the things that have me grounded and have me function in a particular way, because those are the things, that education is what allowed me to hold on to the values that I hold on to today.
You have been a teacher for how long?
This year is going to make 26 years that I'm in the
How many students would have passed under your charge?
Thousands of students.
Mr. Hislop, what gladdens your heart when you meet a past student? What are some of the things that make you ecstatic, knowing that they were taught by you?
The most joyful experience for me really is seeing students as adults positively contributing to our society. And it doesn't matter in what area, because, I mean, I've had students go on to the full plethora of professions. We could start at the vocational things like auto mechanics, construction,
Right.
medical profession, legal, business, the full range,
Right.
military. But to see them contributing positively to the society, that's the greatest joy.
There have been students, I'm sure, who would have not done so well at academics.
That's right.
Have you seen some of those still contribute?
Definitely,
positively?
definitely. As a matter of fact, my personal mantra as an educator is even if a child leaves the school or leaves my class not passing the subject or not getting their full range, their full
Right.
set of subjects, once the child leaves with the correct attitude to life in terms of this is how I'm going to live my life, then I personally feel we've educated them.
Okay.
You know, so that I've had students leave without, in some instances, with no subjects. And 3-4 years after would come back and say, sir, you know, because of what you all did, because of the values that you all instilled, these are the things that I've been able to achieve. Some of them have actually been able to go on and do some of the academic stuff and succeed.
Right.
Some have chosen alternative things and are doing very well at those alternative
Have there been students
things.
besides those? Have there been persons who have come to you personally and said, Mr. Hislop, I thank you for putting up with me, though I was one of those difficult.
Yeah, there have been some of those as well. There have been some of those as well. I mean, one of the ones that comes to mind. I'm sure any CUC teacher listening would know exactly who I'm talking about here. I came in that morning and he was actually walking out of the gate. You know, there was a little run-in between him and the vice principal, and I said to him, when I pulled up, I said, young man, careful. If you walk out of the compound, it is not as easy walking back in. You know, and I had a serious conversation with him when he came back, and you know, he would come back ever so often and visit because there's one story we always talk about and laugh. You know, the day of math exam, he actually slept through. That's math CXC exam. He actually slept through. I think he told me he got to either question 2 or 3, and then slept for the rest of the exam. You know, so I went and smoked some weed that morning. And
Wow.
you know, so that was the only subject he didn't pass. You know, but after he ended up doing the subject and passing it, and he came back to me sometime when he was working in a supervisory position in the company he was at, and he was saying, "Look at that, so boy. I mean, I in charge of people now.
Wow.
See, I really appreciate,
Yes, sir.
you know, what you did for me." And those are the heartwarming stories of education because. I mean, we've lost some over the years. We've lost some. I mean, some of the most heinous things that have happened in this country, I could identify as students who've been a part of our system. And it hurts, it pains when you see those as some of the stories, you know. But I mean, those are the minority. And the thing is, you will keep helping a child down to the last.
Even after school as well.
But Jesus had Judas.
I tell you.
You know, Jesus had Judas. And I tell people that 1/12 of your population is a significant percentage of your population. You know,
so it's a myth to perceive or to say that your schools, Christian education schools, cater only for the saints.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, we cater for everybody.
Right.
We cater for everybody, you know, and we've had a lot of students who would have come through the system over the years, and have turned out fantastic.
Right.
You know, and are really, really positive contributors.
So you could say that your Christian education schools are agents of transformation.
Definitely.
People would have gone through there with, whether they got the academics right or whether they didn't, there was some impact that was made.
That's right.
What is it that you guys do? What is it that the schools would have done to make that impact?
We keep it real. We keep it real. As I said, the school at our core, we understand that we are not just about academic preparation. We're not just about the temporal preparation. Right. We are doing stuff that are preparing students for eternity.
Right.
So that, I mean, our spiritual program is very strong. That is a critical component of the schools. We are not ashamed about it.
Right.
We believe that because of our spiritual basis, that is what allows us to impact students the way that we do. Because at the end of the day, the only real transformative power that exists
Have mercy.
is God.
Have mercy.
You know, God is the one who can transform lives.
Right.
And he's the one who has the power to transform lives. So we expose our students to that in a very intentional way.
Right.
And it's not just about teaching Bible all the time.
Right.
Because
of course.
the academic program is strong
Right.
in the institutions.
Right.
So I mean we have in terms of the subject, the performance at the external exam, the schools do well.
Right.
You know, but that happens because we share with the students the importance of reliance on God for wisdom.
Right.
But we also allow them to experience the academic stuff in a spiritual setting. So understand that when you are doing math, God is the creator of all the formulae that people discovered over time.
Have mercy.
He set this world in motion.
Yes,
the
man.
complex mathematical and scientific
Yes, sir.
information and calculations that it takes to maintain order in the universe.
Have mercy.
That is a
Awesome.
brilliant
Awesome.
scientific
Awesome.
mind. So when you expose students to the awesomeness of God in that context
Right.
of their learning,
Right.
it creates in them the desire to not just learn,
Right.
but also appreciate this true source of knowledge.
So
is
you would
Almighty
advise
God.
any parent at any time to send their child
Oh,
to
definitely,
your secondary school.
definitely.
We have a few of them. You would want to remind
Yeah,
us
we
of
have Bates Memorial High School in Sangre Grande
Right.
on Adventist Street in Sangre Grande. We have Southern Academy of SDA in Duncan Village in La Romaine.
Right.
And then, of course, we have Caribbean Union College Secondary School in Maracas on the compound of the University of the Southern Caribbean.
Okay.
And, of course, in Tobago, we have Harmon School of SDA
Wow.
right there in Rockleyville.
Wow, okay.
My alma mater. yeah, my alma mater.
That's amazing.
yeah.
So you I mean, you have dual citizenship.
Yeah, if you want to call it that. If you want to call it that.
Ah,
You know
good,
what I mean?
good. Somebody's listening to this and saying, Mr. Hislop, I hear you, but the cost of going to some of these schools is very prohibitive. What advice would you give to such a parent?
Well, I'll give them two bits of advice. One, there's nothing that God can do. If you are really committed to having your child experience what is a quality education, there's no investment that is too much.
Have mercy.
You know, a lot of times we look at it as paying for something, but it is actually an investment.
All right.
And if we see paying for a quality Christian education for your child as an investment in your child's future, as an investment in your future as a parent, then of course once you see it that way, you're gonna find a way to get it done.
Right.
But then the reality for some people is that, your economic situation may not be what you would like it to be. We have a number of support systems that we have that could relate to that. As a matter of fact, I was having some conversations just last week, and I was sharing that, probably we need to probably start as an organization exploring the use of our resources to facilitate some parents who might be desirous of educating their students in the schools who may not be able to afford it. I mean, we have a lot of land all over the place, and if we could say to somebody, here's what, take a couple of acres and get some work done, and when you earn your income from that, you could have your resources to pay. I mean, we could share with people various ways that they could go about, as I said, finding the resources to invest in the future of their children.
And it's education that truly matters.
That's right.
Well, you heard it for yourself, education with inspiration. And it's not too late, I'm sure. Just contact the numbers that appear at the bottom of the screen as we speak. Call now, because spaces are running out. Call right now, and you can get your child enrolled in any of these 5, I may add. 5, was it 4? 4 secondary schools.
Yeah.
Well, 4, yes, including Harmon in Tobago. I'm here with Mr. Leslie Hislop and the other principals who are just standing by waiting for you to call. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. Remember, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Only fools despise wisdom and instruction. Don't be a fool now. Be wise and invest for life.
Thank you for viewing JC 24/7. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember to inspire your living as you prepare for heaven. You can get it all on GC 24/7.